I mentioned the 5 hindrances, and maybe it's worth giving the analogies that are offered in the suttas about how the 5 hindrances are. The first one is this sort of lust, or delighting in something pleasurable. And it's not denied, but the way that it's described is being in debt. So, pleasant fantasies when you're sitting meditation, they'll get you through, but you'll have to pay for them sometime. And with interest rates rising all the time at the moment, be careful of how much debt you get yourself into. So that's the first one. And the second one is this anger or ill will, dwelling in ill will when you're sitting. And that's called like being sick or being ill. Actually being something really wrong with your body, something, it's the same sort of experience really. It's not actually pleasant sitting there getting angry at people or at things or at yourself. And that's the analogy that's given for ill will. And then torpor. I've been told that this needs a translation.
Torpor är foot mentality.
Does everybody hear who wish to hear?
Yes.
Okay. And that's like putting yourself in prison. So, because you're just sort of stuck in there, and that's it's a useful way to think about it. And then the fourth one is the restlessness and worry, and that's like being a slave, because you keep getting pulled around and you can't get any sort of settlement. You just get pulled around from here and there and everywhere, and you have no freedom. In the same sort of way as if you're in a prison, but in the freedom of restlessness, the lack of freedom and restlessness is you're being pulled around to do different things the whole time, and that's restlessness. It's helpful, some of these analogies, so that because with all the 5 hindrances, when you come to the Satipatthana Sutta, remember that? The foundations of mindfulness, the sutta that everybody goes to, it's the one that leads runway and all this. It's the Dhammanusati, the recollection and remembering of the Dhammas starts with the 5 hindrances. So, that's the it's not something that you need to get rid of or anything. It's the 5 hindrances are actually, that's what you first meet as Dhammas. So it's useful to know them and to get to really experience them. Don't worry, you can write it down. It takes it into the body, but that's the thing. And then doubt. You're desert people, aren't you? It's doubt is like wandering across a desert without any hope of finding any sort of oasis. And having seen the desert, you can see how jolly uncomfortable that would be, to put it mildly. You're struggling along, crawling along, waiting for the vultures and you don't know where you're going to get any sort of relief. And for a lot of, for you, that's something that you can actually figure, well, I think I know what that's like. If my car broke down there, it would be difficult. and for a lot of us, not knowing what we're supposed to be doing, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? It is like, give me some relief, because I'm waiting for the vultures. So, and with the 5 hindrances, it's figuring out what to do with them. In terms of doubt for your meditation, ask somebody. It's okay, because the whole of the holy life is good friendship. Find a way of finding an oasis, finding some sort of relief from being stuck in the desert. It's okay. It's not something wrong, but to recognize that that's what it is, and then part of it is to say, well, this is what doubt is. And it feels like this. Where do I feel the doubt? Is it in my right elbow? Or, how is doubt experienced? Turn it into a Dhamma, so that it's something that's known. The origins, the properties, the bait, the danger, and the escape from doubt. Figure out doubt. Use it as a Dhammanusati. That's the thing with that. So that's what I would offer about the five hindrances. Does anybody need translation? Please.
כן, אז הנושא שאג'ן מתייחס אליו, 5 hindrances, בעברית אפשר לקרוא לזה 5 המכשולים, 5 המכשלות, 5 האתגרים אם תרצו, ומדובר ספציפית באתגרים שבהם אנחנו נתקלים כשאנחנו ניגשים למדיטציה. אלו 5 הדברים שעומדים בפנינו, שעולים לנו בכל פעם שאנחנו יושבים למדיטציה. אז הראשון הוא הרצון, התשוקה לאיזושהי תחושה. בין פיזית, זה טעם, ריח, צליל, מחשבה. השני זה סלידה ממשהו או כעס על משהו. ככה, הוא מרגיש ככה, אני רוצה שיהיה אחרת. השלישי זו העייפות שעליה דיברנו, שהיא מאוד קשה לנו כי גם אנחנו לא יודעים איך להתייחס אליה, איך להתמודד איתה. הרביעית זה חוסר נחת, עצבנות כזאת, לזוז מצד לצד, למחשבה הזו למחשבה הזו. והחמישי זה הספק, שאנחנו לא יודעים מה לעשות. אז כשמדברים על ה-hindrances, אנחנו מדברים על המכשלות שלנו בהקשר של מדיטציה, והפתרון הוא פשוט להשתמש בהם בתור כלים למדיטציה. טוב, יש לי ספק, איך זה מרגיש? אני רוצה להרגיש איזשהו טעם עכשיו, איך ההרגשה הזאת? אני כועס על זה שיושב לידי כי הוא מרעיש, איך הכעס הזה מרגיש? לא לדחוף את הדברים האלה החוצה, אלא פשוט להבהר בהם ולהשתמש בהם בתור הכלים שלנו במדיטציה.
Did that make sense? Thank you. No, please don't. Do you need translation? But please write the letters, because otherwise we're going to get into a whole discussion. Because I'd like to go on to the next business, because it starts in a desert, and this is the four nutriments. No, this is a very sad story. Some people obviously have heard it before. The nutriments are but that's what feeds this sense of separation. And there are four aspects to it, and the first one starts in the desert, because the first one is ordinary food. For ordinary food, there's the suggestion about how to consider ordinary food, the food that you eat to sustain the body, as if you are eating your only child. And the story of this is that the mother and father are walking across the desert with their child, and they realize they've run out of food, they've run out of anything, and so they decide they're going to eat their child. So the mother says, "I can't do it, you do it," and sends the child to the father. And the father says, "I can't do it, you do it," sends it to the mother. And "I can't do it." The poor guy goes from one to the other until it actually dies, and then they eat their child. So when you're eating food, to have that attitude, so that as if you're eating your only child that's died, because you have no other way of sustaining yourself across the desert. Do you want to get sadder? The next food that feeds this sense of me and mine and self and I am somebody is sense impression, Vedana. Yeah? Because again, this is something that we take very personally. We tend to, that which we like, we tend to want to go towards, and that which we dislike, we tend to want to go away from. And this morning I was walking out and seeing some cows, and the way that sense impression is to be treated is as if, sometimes cows have wounds on them and the flies get in. Well, imagine a cow without any skin. How sensitive and irritated that would be. So sense impressions, the food of sense impressions should be treated as if you're that careful about it, as if there's no skin. It's that sensitive. Going to get worse. The next thing that feeds our sense of self and what we get personal about, which is interesting, because it's volition. Volitions that are good, or the volitions that are skillful, and the volitions that are unskillful. Those two types of volition, the volition to do something skillful and the volition to do something unskillful. Comment se dit volition?
רצון בהקשר של לרצות לעשות משהו, לא לרצות משהו ספציפי. אני רוצה לעשות את הדבר הזה, אז אם אני עושה אותו, זה מושפע מהרצון שלי לעשות אותו. או להימנע.
Sometimes it's called karma, but volition is sometimes called karma. So the volition that's intentionally good, and these are the ones. This is like two strong people pulling you towards a blazing pit, because it's all going to lead to pain somewhere along the way. There is volition that leads to the end of karma, and that's the practice of the Eightfold Path. So, because there's karma is described in many ways, but the basic one is skillful and unskillful, or good karma and bad karma. But go for karma that leads to the end of karma, because then you won't be pulled towards a pit by the two strong people. Okay? You want to get worse? sense consciousness. Sense consciousness. And this is maybe like, I don't know, this sense of sense consciousness is what both joins and divides us. It's this very strange thing of, I'm conscious of you, or I'm conscious of something. So there's a joining, but there's also a dividing. Yeah, it's like the blue line. It both joins and divides Lebanon and and Israel. Yes, sense consciousness is like that. It both joins and divides, and it's the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. That sense consciousness, and that's like, those superheroes that can cure themselves very easily. It's like being stabbed by 100 swords in the morning and feeling the pain of 100 swords in the morning, 100 swords at midday and 100 swords in the evening. That's sense consciousness. Because it actually is quite strangely painful, isn't it? This sense of joining and separation that we experience through the senses is actually quite a strain, really. It's painful, and so when we think about what we take personally, this is what we take personally. The question of food is quite simple, but similarly with feelings, similarly with volition. This is my intention. I want to do this. Yeah, and this is for me, and then the consciousness that is what we're experiencing all the time. This strange separation and joining. It's that powerful. So those are the four nutriments, and so heavy metal this morning. But so. Do go for karma that leads to the end of karma. Practice the Eightfold Path and delight in solitude. It's not running away or something like that, but delight in the solitude of this moment. Find the space in this moment to notice the neutral sensation when known is attractive, and when not known, there's a tendency to move away from it. So knowing neutral sensation, there's actually two types of Vedana, for or against, but often it's described as three, for, against, and neutral. And then you've got the sixth sense basis, so you've got 18, 3 times 18, 3 times 6 is 18, internal and external, so you've got 36, yes? Yeah, and then 18 times 2, but then past, present, and future. 36 times 3, 108. Yeah, so you've got 108 beads on your mala. And this is how we relate to senses, because we tend to think about the past, the present, or the future through the eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind. And all of this is being skinned alive and the flies attacking you. Because it really is it's a real, all our sort of worries and hopes and fears are around this, aren't they? And is it not to say that anything's wrong? It's just, this is a graphic way of describing how much this whole thing is deeply painful and confusing. And it's not somehow wrong. Okay? So, but if you delight in this moment, delighting in this moment, the neutral, It's all right. With the energy of this pleasant moment, I can give attention. I can receive experience. I can endure this moment. I'm enduring this moment, aren't I? The patience and the kindness is here. And this is the destroyer or the transformer of defilements. Kanti paramang tapo titika. This is the supreme austerity, is actually delighting in this moment. And then the transformation that comes through, the transformation of just allowing this present moment to be, and to know this in this moment. It's not personal, it's just, this is experience. So this is what I offer you this morning. So I think it's in code. This one's one that we always get. How did I become a monk? In periods that I am flooded with pain, sadness, anger and restlessness, without patience or equanimity, what would be the right thing to do? You're not alone. You're not alone. This is the experience of separateness. This is how it is. And we are all brothers and sisters in this. Find the neutral. Find the knowing. Find the experience that is. When people have pain in their knees, I say to them, the first thing to do with the pain in the knees is to notice. Or sometimes it's pain in the back. But notice the pain and say to yourself, okay, here you are. The next one is, if it persists, then I will deal with you. I will deal with you. And then notice what's the beginning of the pain, where the pain begins, where the pain ends, around the knee, where the edges of the pain, where the way that the pain shifts and changes, how it's not certain, now I'm talking about the knee, but this is also true of emotional pain or so-called spiritual pain. Notice what's not hurting, and notice the space around it. Notice how it changes. So you're not trying to get rid of the pain, but you're also not wallowing in it or getting stuck in it. Find what's not hurting. Find the knowing, so that it's in a perspective, and do connect with the fact that beings wish you well. Because that's true, and that's not hurtful. And the Lord Buddha wished you well, wishes you well. All the beings in the room wish you well. You wish yourself well, because you're experiencing all the pain, sadness and anger and restlessness. but actually you wish yourself well. And allow that sense of well-wishing to be something that you can go to. So this is what it's like to wish myself well. This is what it's like to be here now. If you are here now with all of that, it means you can endure it. You are enduring it. You are transforming it. You're allowing the space in your heart for it to end. This is a compassion. Compassion is allowing space for things to end, for pain to end. So once you're, even if you say, well, this is what's happening, this is my world, it's not all your world. It cannot ever be all your world. Because there is the knowing of it, and there is the wish to be free from it. And that wish to be free from it is something to trust. The wish to know, the knowing that there is this wish to be free from pain. Otherwise, you wouldn't, otherwise you just keep hurting yourself and hurting others. If you've actually acknowledged that there is pain, that's already an incredible transformation. And allowing that transformation to do its work, to do its own thing. When you're cultivating, one of the ways of describing meditation is cultivation. And a lot of you are farmers or grow things. And you can't force something to grow. It has to grow at its own pace. Cultivation has to happen at its own pace. What you can do is to keep it free from weeds and look after it, and then it'll grow at its own pace. And in cultivating a heart that's free, allow it to happen at its own pace, and not try to force it. And turn the muck into manure. All the difficulties, turn them into something that, are part of Satipatthana. Come back to the Satipatthana. Do you need translation?
Yeah.
See? Okay. So, translation.
נלך אחורה. המסר הוא להשתמש בכל הקשיים שעולים לנו בחוויה האישית, בחוויה של המדיטציה, בתור שיעזור לנו לפתח את היכולת שלנו לקבל את הדברים כמו שהם. אז אם אנחנו סובלים מכאבים, אנחנו תמיד יכולים לשים לב, מתוך מאמץ, אבל לשים לב איפה לא כואב לנו. כי אם כואב לנו בברך שמאל, אם קיבלנו מכה בברך שמאל, ברך ימין לא כואבת לנו. ואז יש לנו את היכולת לחשוב על זה, שלא כואב לנו בכל מקום, יש מקום שלא כואב לנו, ואנחנו יכולים להתרכז בו, במקום להתרכז במקום שכן כואב לנו. והמקום שאליו אג'אן מצביע שאף פעם לא כואב לנו, זו המשאלה שלנו, של אחרים, לרווחה של כל היצורים החיים. כל עוד מישהו מאחל לכם טוב, זה מקום שהוא לא כואב. אז תמיד אפשר לחזור למקום הזה, ובעזרתו לפתח את התחושה שלא הכל כואב. אפילו אם כואב לי בלב. מישהו מאחל לי טוב, והמקום הזה שבו מישהו מאחל לי טוב הוא מקום לא כואב. ואני יכול לבחור, לשהות במקום הזה ולפתח את היכולת שלי להכיל את כל הרגשות, גם הלא נעימים, מתוך הידיעה שיש גם את האיחול הזה לטוב.
That help? Thank you. Somebody's got round to the pain in the back. When I sit meditation, my back always quickly becomes uncomfortable. I move around a little, but it doesn't help. Any advice? Find an Alexander teacher. Alexander technique is really, really good. And there must be hundreds in Israel. Yeah. Yes? Mm-hmm. There must be. The great thing about the Alexander technique is that it's doing nothing. And then you have to pay for it. Being taught to do nothing. It seems an incredible swizz. But I had a sequestered disc hernia, if you know what that means. It's where the disc hernia is actually, the disc is actually broken. And so it was eventually operated on, but an Alexander teacher showed me what to do a bit. And it was the one thing that could change pain into bliss without, just by doing nothing. And it was really weird. So, if you find a good Alexander teacher, they will help. Find a good physio. If you don't trust sports physios, they're the ones that actually have to produce results. Because otherwise the sports people don't actually. All of this is reasonably expensive. For your meditation practice, take attention in, as I was saying, notice what's not hurting, notice what is hurting. Take the attention in and out, move attention around. You can try colors. Taking colors, if you're a visual person, into the pain. And similarly with your emotional pain, you can take colors. Or you can take the breath, breathe through it. You can see how the breath works through this. Breathe out. Hold the breath out, don't hold the breath in. And allow the breath gently to come back in through. Then release the breath. Get back in again. Allow it back in again. Play with it in this way that you can play with the breath. You can play with the sensation of the pain. Certainly thinking I don't want this pain is, if you connect with why you don't want this pain, then that's great. I don't want this pain because I wish myself well. Yes? Rather than, I don't want this pain because I can't stand it. If I don't want this pain because I can't stand it, then I'm perpetuating a habit of I can't stand things. I am somehow inadequate. I can't deal with this pain. Whereas if you come to the pain and think, I don't really like this pain. This pain is horrible, but I wish myself well. I will figure it out. Yeah? You come from a sense of, I can give into this. I can learn from this. I can do something with this. Yes. Rather than I can't stand it anymore. I have to get rid of it. I'm inadequate. Don't feed the sense of inadequacy, because that's the start of greed and hatred. And even if you find yourself feeding the sense of inadequate, it's only because you wish yourself well. I feel I can't cope because I wish myself well. Always go back to that sense of I wish myself well, because that's actually true. The sense that you're inadequate is false. And if you believe the false, you go towards the false. Because life wishes the best for itself. It may not know how to get there, And things like trees can't move very far to get there. Ants and things have only their instincts to rely upon. But humans do have the capacity to be free from all greed, all hatred, and all confusion. This is your birthright. And nobody and no circumstance can take that from you. It is a human birthright.
אז יש שאלה אחת שמאוד, אני לא יודע מתי כתבו אותה, אבל היא מאוד מתייחסת למכשלות שעליהן דיברנו קודם. השאלה היא, בזמן המדיטציה לא פעם עולות אצלי תחושות של חוסר שקט, חוסר סבלנות, רצון חזק לקום ולצאת החוצה, לזוז ולהתרחק מכאן. אשמח להבין איך לעבוד עם זה, אז ההסבר הוא ממש ההסבר שניתן קודם, פשוט להסתכל על זה. ככה זה מרגיש, אני רוצה ללכת מפה. אז אם מישהו שאל את השאלה הזו, אם יש לה איזה המשך, ואיכשהו לא התקבלה תשובה בהסבר הראשון על המכשלות, אז אולי עוד פתק לאחר כך כדי להסביר על השאלה.
What was that one?
It was about the hindrances.
Okay, so that was referred to previous.
גם אני. בזמן שאתם מדבר, אני מרבה או מרבה? אני מרבה להירדם. גם אני.
Which one's this one?
I'll get to the question. אני כועסת על עצמי שאני מפספסת לימוד חשוב. כאשר מגיעה הפסקה, אני ערנית ויכולה להמשיך לשבת ולמדות. מה לעשות עם הנטייה לנמנום? שוב אנחנו חוזרים לעניין של הנמנום, הנטייה לנמנם היא המכשלה השלישית ברשימת המכשלות. זה מאוד מאוד טבעי. מה לעשות עם הנטייה הזאת? להסתכל עליה, וזה די קשה, כי קשה להסתכל על הכביש כשאתה נרדם, אבל נראה לי שלא לכעוס על עצמנו, זה יעיל. Whilst Ajahn speaks, I tend to fall asleep.
Yeah, because
I'm angry with myself that I'm missing an important teaching. When the break comes along, I'm fully awake and I can keep on meditating. That's, by the way, theory, because you don't know that. What to do with the tendency to
fall asleep.
So that's, again, the hindrances.
That's again the hindrances, and particularly, in my case, it was listening to Thai. Yeah, because there's a certain effort that's needed to stay with it, and it's just easier just to switch off. Mm-hmm. It's not uncommon, and particularly if you're not listening in your own language. So no blame, no blame. There's always YouTube. You can listen to it again in the car, or whatever. Not my talks, they're not on YouTube.
This other one?
Yes, this one.
Also good.
Okay.
השאלה הזו היא על חוויית ייאוש, ואיך לפגוש אותה בצורה חכמה ומיומנת. הכותבת מדברת על חוויות של רגישות וייאוש לגבי כל העולם, ושקשה לה או שהיא לא מצליחה לראות שום דבר טוב. המחשבה על תרגול של מוות היא היחידה שמרגישה כשחרור, כאושר, אך היא לא מגיעה ממקום של איזון. So the question is, how to meet the experience of despair in a wise and skillful way? How to meet the sensitivity of despair towards the entire world. The thought of practicing of death towards death is the only one that feels like a release or happiness, but it doesn't feel like it comes from a place of balance. That would be the question.
The thought, how to deal with a sense of despair.
Yes, the question is how to deal with the sense of despair, how to meet
the sense of
despair, the experience of despair.
The experience of despair, and then the only thing that seems to help is the idea,
and thought about the thought.
The thought that it will end eventually.
I'm not sure that it would end eventually, but practicing as thinking about death.
thinking about death.
Charnel grounds, I think, more than actually wanting to die.
There is a hint of depression there.
Yeah, the despair. First of all, it's not wrong. It's actually, no, at one level, this is something that we could really easily despair about. Yeah, the whole business of humanity. But noticing that, and if we wallow in that, what does it do? So what I do encourage as a way is to delight in this moment. You know, yesterday the idea of noticing the peaceful, noticing when things are okay, noticing the goodness and the friendship of one's life, noticing the possibility of experiencing delight in this moment. And even if the delight is knowing that there is despair, you know, this is the knowing is the refuge. And trying to get rid of it or feeling overwhelmed by it won't lead to the end of karma. And the encouragement is practice that leads to the end of karma. And that practice is understanding dukkha, understanding despair. Grief, sorrow, lamentation, and despair is dukkha. And ignorance of that is, it will perpetuate it. So actually, okay, this is what it's like. And then abandoning the compulsion to try to get rid of it, noticing what's not despairing, noticing what knows despair, noticing when there is no despair, noticing the sense of generosity that can come. That is present. Stay with that. I think the kitchen is despairing. So, okay. So that's about what we can do. But it's not wrong to feel despair. That's the part of what makes it worse is to think I shouldn't be experiencing this because I'm supposed to be some sort of fine spiritual person, or the sense of I cannot stand this anymore. If you are experiencing something, you are able to stand it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's the truth. The sense that I can't do it is actually extra. The truth is that you can stand it because you are standing it. It's like, you're frightened of something that's not actually ever happening. When you're actually experiencing what you're frightened of, it's not fear, it's pain. Yeah? So fear, it's not wrong to be frightened, because if you're not frightened, I don't want to get in a car with you, because you'd be a very dangerous driver. It's not, it's just, that this is part of the human condition that has all the power and the beauty of it. So I was going to give some instruction in walking meditation so that you could go and try and do some for a bit. And then maybe this afternoon I should do some standing and some sitting meditation. So first of all, standing meditation, okay? Standing meditation is probably one of the most difficult. I should get to the most difficult in a bit. Standing meditation, the foot has sort of three parts to it that actually can connect to the ground. It's the ball, the heel, and the side, yes? And you know those things that old people use, which have three Yeah. Imagine that those are at the bottom of your feet, and use those as a way of connecting with the ground, so that the foot is really, you can stand up and really stable in that. Maybe get onto the floor itself if you can. And so not too like this, and not too like this, not too turned in and not too turned out. So slightly parallel, about the width of your shoulders. And, the hands usually in front or behind, but the thing with all of the meditation postures is this sense of relaxing into it and staying with it, because the stillness allows the sensitivity. Eyes open, so that you keep a sense of being present. Closing your eyes so that they're level, so you're not looking up and you're not looking down. If you find, again, even with sitting meditation, if you find your neck's going back, what you're doing is you're compressing your neck at the back. If you're stretching it forward, then you're overextending it. The thing about the head is that it can actually balance on the top of your neck. And that's weird, because we tend to pull it one way or the other, but allowing it to balance. So that's why they sometimes suggest the pulling up through the crown of the head when you're sitting and when you're standing. So the crown of the head, a string that sort of lightly pulls up. And then the standing meditation, there was one monk that used to do 3 hours a day. He's no longer a monk, don't worry, Christopher Titmus. After the meal, because he felt drowsy after the meal, so he decided to do standing meditation. Brave fellow. So that's the standing meditation. That's the posture. So again, allowing through the hips so that it's not pushed forward or not pushed back, so that the whole thing is there's a balance there. Again, enjoying it. So you come into that, so you can stand meditation for a while, and then the stillness in that. Because with all of this, there's a tendency to restlessness. And I just want to get comfortable. And so there's a movement, and so there's not a staying with discomfort, even small discomfort. But if you stay with small discomfort, it's quite interesting. That's why I quite like flies. Because when the flies are crawling on your face, staying with the flies is quite... they're not too bad. This is not Australia though, so don't worry. With walking meditation, you pick usually a straight line, 10 to 30 paces. So quite long or quite short, doesn't matter. What I find with walking meditation is you can find more pain on your knees walking meditation than sitting meditation. Now, most of you have not done enough walking meditation to know that. But if you do walking meditation and you're not careful, you can put more pain on your knees walking meditation than sitting meditation. I know. Done it myself, and other people have done it. So the thing with walking meditation is to, again, a sense of, when you stand at the beginning of the walking path, stand and collect yourself, like I've just been doing, and then the intention to walk. Notice the intention to walk and the notice where the end of the path is, and that whole sort of sense of the walk. And then I tend to start at one end of the path, I start with one foot, and the other end of the path, start with the other foot. It keeps me honest, because if I forget, then I'm starting with the wrong foot. Yeah? And similarly, I turn one way at the beginning of the path, one end of the path, and turn the other way at the other end of the path. And turning with the eyes. Don't turn with the hips. If you turn with the hips, particularly if you're tall, you tend to put a lot of strain on your knees. So if you turn with the hips, the knees go. Okay? So turn eyes first, as far as they can go. Eyes, you see, you've got your eyes straight, and then you turn your eyes, and then the neck softly follows, and then the rest of the body softly follows that. So it's a soft turn. It's not, you've probably done it, but no. Okay. It's a soft turn. So the eyes do the turning. The intention in the eyes follows, the body follows the eyes gently round, very, very gently, and no strain. Because if you come to the end of the path and you turn with your hips, just swing round, and you won't even know that you've done it until it's really painful. All right? Now, how fast should I walk? You can walk quite fast, or you can walk quite slowly. Not so much of a problem. Don't walk across somebody else's path. That's not a good idea. Find a path that has a little bit of space around it. It doesn't matter if you're walking parallel. You can get 4 or 5 people who can walk across this tiny little thing, and that's okay. Or in an area, I think there's an area up there that's quite square, so you can walk up and down there. Don't walk some this way and some this way, just all in the same direction. And then notice if you are walking in the same direction and you're turning and this sort of stuff, notice the whole sense of competition around it and drop that. Okay? He's walking too fast, she's walking too slow. I wonder whether she's going to... Your intention is on your own, the sensation of the body moving, the whole thing of the body moving. And it's a different posture, it's not a different meditation. So you can do breathing meditation as you're walking. You can do a supagamatan as you're walking. Those who don't know what a supagamatan is, there'll be a translation.
Now?
Yes?
הסופגמתן, תרגול במחשבה על התכונות הלא יפות של הגוף. בדרך כלל משתמשים בתמונות ואמצעים ויזואליים להראות ניתוחים או תאונות, ולחשוב על כל החלקים שבתוך הגוף. אנחנו לא מסתכלים עליהם, הם לא כל כך יפים.
I was dared to teach a supagamatan at the IMS at the end of the metta meditation. So I did. So the supagamatan that I taught was something that was taught to me, which is at the end of the path, you can discard hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, all the parts of the body, just drop them, visualize dropping them at each end of the path. People found it quite peaceful. They were very surprised. But you can't practice the super meditation without practicing metta. You have to practice metta. You have to practice a sense of not dwelling in aversion. Yeah? You're doing this because you wish yourself well and because you wish to understand. When you look at somebody, what do you see? You see the hair of the head, the hair of the body, the nails, teeth, and skin. Yeah? When you look at somebody's teeth, you're looking at their skeleton. And we forget that. So, it's giving us what you're doing with a supagamatan is flexibility in perception. Flexibility in perception. So that the perceptions, and you're not holding on to fixed views. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. So, this is the purpose of the supagamatan. Letting go. Okay? So, and then you can walk fast or slow and pick your things. And again, enjoy it. Walking very slowly, it's sometimes like the sort of earth is moving under your feet, because you can take 20 minutes to walk 10 or 15. Walking fast, you can be with things, and you can feel the energy of this, power of this body. Okay. So do you want to go walk meditation for half an hour? Half an hour, just to try and find a good place and come back in half an hour. Does that make sense? Thank you. Somebody will ring a bell. Somebody will ring a bell. You don't need to worry about it. There'll be time.